everybody, and welcome to Parks Bros. It's Drew here, and thank you for joining in on day 5 of Listmas. We're almost halfway through with these 12 amazing lists, and boy, it has been crazy trying to put all of these videos together. But if you haven't yet, make sure to go check out our other lists, especially the list from yesterday, top 10 theme park foods. But today, I know, is a big one that I'm sure a lot of you have been looking forward to. And that is my top 10 airtime moments and roller coaster drops. Now, these moments are coveted as some of the best on these crazy machines that we call roller coasters. They can make you feel like you're floating, being thrown out of your seat, or diving headfirst toward the ground. And while going upside down can be incredibly memorable, for a lot of us enthusiasts, these moments are even better. But without further ado, let's head to number 10. So at this spot, I have Full Throttle's Loop Drop. That's right, the 80-degree drop at the very end of the ride that actually has a brake run halfway down. Now, a lot of people say that is a terrible thing. The fact that there's a brake run halfway down a drop, well, for me, it's an amazing thing. Because with this drop being so steep, and the fact that you're slowing down at the same time, means that you get vaulted just that extra little bit out of your seat, and is easily one of the most intense moments of airtime in all of California. Now, while in the front it might not be as prominent, I can definitely tell you in the back, it is almost painful. And that's why I just had to put it on this list. Now, moving to number 9, we're going to go to Lagoon in Farmington, Utah for Cannibal's first drop, which is monumental. At over 200 feet tall and 116 degrees, it was at one point the steepest drop in all of North America. And it is just insane. It feels almost like a full inversion. It's so steep. And that's why I absolutely love it. That, and add in this drop feeling like it goes on forever before getting a wonderful head chopper at the very bottom, it really is just an unforgettable moment. And this coaster to me is worth the trip alone. Now we're jumping states yet again over to Texas for SeaWorld San Antonio's Steel Eel and its second airtime hill. Now, this is a coaster I don't hear talked about too often, but I will say it is easily one of the best coasters I've been on, with just extreme airtime on almost every single hill of this ride. It is non-stop. And of course, that goes without saying that the second airtime hill on this ride is bonkers, holding you up in the air for a full 5 or more seconds. It is just a brutal moment of weightlessness that made me fall in love with this ride. Sure, it might be a little rough at the bottom and the start of this element, but man, that 5 seconds of weightlessness just makes it another unforgettable moment. Let's move to California for number 7, to technically a defunct coaster, at least for the time being. And that is to Scandia's own Screamer and its third drop. Now, I'm putting this on here at least for this year because I didn't have Listmas last year when the ride officially closed. But man, this airtime moment on the third drop is just stupid, and is easily one of the most intense moments I have ever experienced in airtime. Because halfway down the drop, when you've already picked up a heck of a lot of speed, it changes angles to go steeper, which if you're sitting in the back, vaults you to an almost terrifying spot. Now, this moment alone made me fall in love with this ride, and while sure, it was incredibly janky, it is a ride I will never forget. And if you're looking for that same type of feeling that you could get, but a little less intense, you can get a similar feeling on a ride like Gemini at Cedar Point. But of course, Screamer is incredibly missed, and I hope it gets rebuilt eventually somewhere, so I can experience all the amazing and heart-pounding drops that it used to have. Now, moving to number 6 is another extreme case, and that is Cedar Point's Magnum XL200 and its final airtime hills. Oh boy, if I thought some of the previous airtime moments were going to kill me, I was incredibly wrong, because Magnum XL200's last couple of hills are just bonkers. especially if you're sitting near the front of the train, you get vaulted to a point where you get bruises on your thighs. And for me, I involuntarily screamed my head off every single time I experienced these hills. Sure, they might be looking like misshapen coat hangers, but man, they have easily the most intense moment of airtime that I think I've ever experienced. Now we're going to move back to California for Six Flags Magic Mountain's Twisted Colossus and its third hill, and more specifically, the blue hill that dives underneath the green double down. Now, a lot of people I know would say there are other better moments of airtime in this ride, and I can completely understand that. There are so many incredible drops and points where you're flying out of your seat, not literally, of course, but most of all are definitely in my top 25 of this list. But I can only fit one on this top 10, and it would have to be this moment because of that added hand chopper as you dive down with extreme ejector airtime that's sustained. It's just a really cool moment. And while some might say they prefer the airtime hill underneath the Top Gun stall 2 hills later, I personally prefer this hill because I love that diving motion just a little more than going up and then down again. Now at number 4, we go to the same park, but all the way across to X2's first drop. Now, honestly, I would have named this list just airtime moments if it wasn't for this drop. I had to feature this drop on a list because it is insane. So not only is it near vertical, it flips you to face toward the ground, which in the front gives you a view unlike anything else, looking 200 feet down to the ground with nothing between you but air. Now, in the back, you get whipped over this drop and ragdolled down. The insanity that this first drop brings to the table. Now, for as much as I love this first drop, I gotta say it's not always my cup of tea, but when I'm in the mood for something intense, this hits the spot easily. Now for number 3, we're going to head back to San Antonio for Six Flags Fiesta Texas and its star RMC, Iron Rattler. And more specifically for its first drop. Now, I put this first drop as my favorite first drop. Now, it's nothing against X2's, but this drop dives and twists twice with diving under a structure immediately at the bottom, which not only gets you headache-inducing airtime, but some amazing laterals and a crazy head chopper moment while picking up insane speed. This moment of the ride makes it worth it for me to ride alone, even though the rest of the ride has some incredible moments to itself. But man, the first drop is just the star for me for this attraction and is what I would consider a near perfect first drop for a more traditional coaster. Anyway, moving to number 2, we are going to be experiencing the best airtime moment in all of Frontier Town. That's right, Maverick's airtime hill. Yeah, you thought I was going to say something from Steel Vengeance, but to be honest with you, there is not one moment of airtime on that ride that stands out to me as a top 10 moment. Now, it's nothing against the ride. When you combine all of it together, it's incredible. But man, none of them, to me, stack up to what Maverick's airtime hill does with its sustained ejector airtime that vaults you out of your seat for a good 2.5 seconds, if not more. Is just something I had to put up this high on the list. It's another one of these headache-inducing airtime moments that pushes you against that collar restraint in a way that almost makes you feel like your head is going to rip off. Now, I know it probably sounds like I'm quite the masochist. I promise I'm not. But this airtime moment is insane and is what I would personally say is my favorite airtime moment at all of Cedar Point, and that's no knock to any other at the park. Now, coming in at number 1, we're heading to 2 separate states because I can't choose which I think is better. Well, because they're practically the same, and that is the off-axis airtime hill on the cloned Raptors, Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, and Railblazer at California's Great America. This insane airtime hill gives some of the most intense airtime I have ever experienced. Add that in with insane laterals that twist you from side to side. It is just another one of those ragdoll moments that almost makes you forget the second half of the ride because of how intense it is. Now, there have been plenty of the moments on this list that have made me feel like my body's gonna be ripped apart or I'm gonna go flying out of my seat. But I gotta say, the closest to that happening occurred on both of these models. I can tell you I've definitely gotten bruises on my collarbones from this moment alone, and boy, it's worth it because this ridiculous airtime moment gives you a combined sensation of moments like Maverick or Magnum's airtime hills, including with the sustain of steel eels and the laterals of iron rattlers. So to me, this moment alone is my favorite airtime moment and coaster drop because, well, it's a combination of everything that I love, and it's even on my favorite model, the Raptor. So I can't wait to see what future models and their airtime hills will be like. So there you go, day 5 is all over for Listmas, and I hope you guys are excited for the another 7 days to come. That's right, we're only a week away from my top 25 coasters list, but we've got plenty of videos in between now and then that you should definitely check out every morning. But make sure to let me know your favorite airtime moment or roller coaster drop down in the comments below. I'd love to hear. But thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on all of Listmas and every bonus video that comes to you soon. But until tomorrow, with my top 10 water rides list, we'll see you on the next ride.